I think we'll just get a little bit of a head start and get cracking. But tēnā koutou katoa and namaste and tashidele. It's really wonderful to see you all here today. So many members, supporters, partners. It really means a great deal that you've come here and you've shown such an interest in the work that we're doing. Just a bit of housekeeping to start off. It can get a bit warm in here, so we'll open doors if need be. The bathrooms are through that door if you need them. If you need tea, coffee, we have like an enormous amount of scones back there, and they really do need to be eaten. So you must all eat a scone. So look, the Himalayan Trust has always sort of flourished because of really highly committed people. And even in Ed's time, there have been challenges, but those have all been met by an incredible array of people that have sort of rallied to do all sorts of things, from fundraising, providing advice, donations, connections. The importance of you, our members, our board members, in propagating sort of the work that we're doing and talking about what we're doing has a huge impact. And it's very important. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for your interest. Now, I'd like to just start off with highlighting our incredible board members. Our board is so important, and they're a highly active board. Himalayan Trust New Zealand is a small organisation, as you all know, but our board are really, really critical for all sorts of different things, and they help make everything possible. So I thought I'd just go through it, but so Peter here, Dave, can you stand up, is the chair of the board, and then David Simmons is the deputy chair. If you could just stand up. Eating one of the scones. Claire Newman, Claire, could you stand up? Who's sort of been highly involved in strategy and on the board for a long time. Emma Hayden, who's one of our healthcare trustees. And Bruce Arrell, who's also a healthcare trustee.
I can't find a scone.
And Michael Gill, who's been involved in the trust for a long time and is one of our education and all-round financial superstar trustees. Farinji Sherpa, who's in the back there, is one of our cultural trustees and an incredible fundraising support for the trust. And Kirsten Nicholson, who's absent today. She's our sort of water specialist and trustee. She couldn't be here today. And we have two new board members that we're really proud to welcome to the board from this term. And that's Miranda Khan, who's here today. Miranda, would you be able to stand up at the back? So Miranda's an education and development specialist and is going to be helping us with our QEPS program, our education program, and a lot more. And then we also have another new board member, who's Georgia Servin, who's not able to join us today, unfortunately. Now, I'm also really pleased to welcome the amazing team from HTN. Now, we couldn't do anything without this team, and they're an amazing group of people, and we rely on them a huge amount. So representing the Himalayan Trust Nepal board is Pasang Lama. Pasang, could you just stand for a minute? So Pasang is the treasurer of Himalayan Trust Nepal and has been involved in the trust for how many years?
24 years.
So how long?
24.
24 years. So is an old hand at everything that we're doing. It's an amazing board that they have in Nepal. They provide very, very strong governance and they're highly involved in also the operational elements. The Himalayan Trust Nepal board will engage in decisions around, say, the Tami relief response or how we distribute funds for small grants. So they're a highly active board like we have in New Zealand and really critical for the success of this organisation. So I just wanted to shed a light on these members who aren't with us today but are very, very important to what we're doing. I'm also delighted to welcome Mingma Norbu Sherpa, who's the CEO of Himalayan Trust Board. So Mingma runs the operations of HTN, and we are so lucky to have Mingma. He's an excellent operator, and it's an absolute privilege to work with you, Mingma. He has a highly skilled team that are really attentive, attention to detail. They're very connected with the community that they work in. And that's an amazing asset for the Himalayan Trust, and I think Himalayan Trust Nepal really sets itself apart as a development agency in Nepal, and we're very lucky to have them. And there's also a big team. So this is the Kathmandu office team. It's the core team that work on managing all the different projects, and there's a fantastic group of people there. Now, in addition to that, there's an amazing team on the ground, and it's a big team, and it's constantly growing as the needs and our program expands. So this team is essentially led by Mahendra Katet, who's the education advisor for the education program, but there are teacher trainers for science, for maths, for English. There are technical advisors, for helping with the installation of EduTech Nepal's computer labs and the maintenance and operation of them. So it's a really amazing team, and I've had a privilege of seeing a lot of these people in action in Nepal, and they do a really good job. Some of these people are highly skilled, highly talented. Deeper in the top corner is, I think, newly appointed as the education specialist for science. She has a Master's of Education, so they're a highly skilled group of people. And then the medical team, which is also a substantial group of people working at Kundi Hospital and then in the clinics. So Milan Mugger in the bottom right is from Tame Clinic, which has just recently been destroyed, so you'll hear a bit more about that today. But it's an incredible team. And I thought, just to sort of start us off with the AGM, this is our mission statement. In the spirit of friendship and goodwill, retaining the spirit of Ed Hillary, the Himalayan Trust partners with the people of the Himalaya to achieve their aspirations through education, health, cultural, economic and environmental development. And I think that's very important, and I think we really live up to that mission statement, and it's something that remains very present in our minds as we do our work. But times have certainly changed, since Ed Hillary began this work, and the Trust has really had to evolve and change. In the early days it was a very simple affair. It was, you need a school, right, we'll build a school and we'll just do it. But that has changed a lot over the years. And I think, although we have to uphold sort of the values of a quite modern development agency, and you'll hear a bit about sort of what we're having to do there, I think there are three important values that really differentiate us as a not-for-profit. And those are, we've got three sort of guiding values and approaches that we use. And the first is power and partnership. And I think that's really exemplified in having Pasang and Mingma here. We're really proud to be locally led. We respond to the needs of the local people, and we respond to the advice and the direction that Mingma provides us. And that's something that is really integral for our operation. But also adventure by nature, in both our origins, but also through our approach. We pride ourselves on sort of a readiness to explore new ideas, chart new terrain, and the Khumbu, or Solo Khumbu, is a very changing landscape. There's a lot happening right now, and responding to those changing needs is really critical. And I think that value of adventure by nature is something that's quite unique to us. But then, of course, the long-term commitment to change is really, really important. Himalayan Trust has worked in Solo Khumbu since the 1960s, and we are really committed to this region for the long term. And breaking the cycle of poverty is not something that you can do by just swanning in and doing a few projects for a couple of years. It's something that requires a really long-term commitment. And so that's something that I think is really special to us. But that's all from me. I'm going to hand over to my father, Peter, the chairperson of the Himalayan Trust, and thank you so much for coming.
Hey, it's wonderful working with my son, Alexander, and over these years we've seen an amazing transformation in his knowledge of the organisation and the scope and potential it has. So it's a wonderful partnership between me and the board and Alexander as the lead employee of the Himalayan Trust. Well, looking back over this past year, it's really started out with the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest, and it was an incredible time when I think about it. The celebrations up in the Khumbu, little village celebrations, amazing events down in Kathmandu. We went on to Delhi, where we felt like rock stars. That was the nature of the welcome there. It was effusive, to say the least. And then moving on to London, Jumling Tenzing and I and Sue Layden, John Hunt's daughter, had a meeting with King Charles at Buckingham Palace. It was very hard to get into Buckingham Palace. I nearly missed the appointment because there's quite a few gates, but there's a lot of armed people manning them, and there's only one that they'll actually let you in there. But really, what came out of that was the acknowledgement of what those two guys on the British expedition achieved. And it was, I think, rather marvellous that you had a New Zealander and a Sherpa climbing together to make the first ascent of the world's highest mountain. And I guess that sort of steely grit that my father had, that determination, really went on to manifest itself in what they did up there in the Khumbu. And it was all at the request of local people. And as Alexander said, we continue that theme. It is at the request of local people and in collaboration with them. And so our new arrangement with Himalayan Trust Nepal really works incredibly well for us, because they're the knowledgeable ones on the ground. They're in Nepal all of the time. We visit 2 or 3 times a year, but you've got great partners and you can make a great difference. But back here in New Zealand, more and more, I think our expertise comes into being around basically fundraising and a support base. And we really value everything that you do to support the Himalayan Trust and the various fundraising events that we have, because without that we simply couldn't do anything at all. We've become incredibly aware through the education program, and we'll talk more about this later, that education is not the way it was when the Himalayan Trust started. I remember as a kid, Sue would go into one of those little schools and they had slates and chalk, and a teacher with a big stick sort of shouting from the front of the room. And well, it has changed, and particularly through our partnership with Mike and Cheryl Chisholm, we're introducing new technologies, because in the 21st century, literacy is not just, certainly not a slate and chalk, and it's not just a book and a pen. It's about using technology, being able to get information and to transmit your ideas to others, but also to be able to stand up in front of people and to articulate your ideas. So the nature of the education that we're working on is absolutely critical. Look, we are very thankful for the support from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade down in Wellington. The partnership with the education program has been incredibly important to us, and it's certainly something of scale, and it's something we are very keen to increase as the funding actually allows, because giving people education is like giving them the key to the door. I mean, after that, it does come down to what they can do with it, but you have to have a good and broad and sophisticated education, and that's certainly our aim, to move in that direction. As I mentioned, fundraising is a really important part of the Himalayan Trust here in New Zealand. We've had some amazing support from our regular givers and at our various events, and every so often we are able to get more substantial donations. We had a special donation recently of 150,000 Australian from my friend Dick Astons and his wife Lee. And Dick has accompanied me on half a dozen trips into the Himalayas and elsewhere, and in fact he's going to be back here in Auckland launching the sale of his new orange juice line, Grove Juices. So when you're at the supermarket at Woolworths, go for Grove. It'll be here in a couple of
Himalayan
weeks.
Trust label on it, so you must buy a Grove orange
And
juice.
$1, I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but I'm going to encourage Dick and Woolworths that it may go on as long as possible. But apparently $1 per bottle will come to the Himalayan Trust. So we'll see how we go with that. And I want to acknowledge Mike and Linda Gill for their support with the Tami Glacial Lake outburst flood. We've had a lot of support, but Mike and Linda jumped in with a substantial donation, and we really appreciate it. The visibility of the Mount Everest story, Alexander and I have been talking about this, particularly in India, I think's a real opportunity for us, because there's a connection in India. India is this huge powerhouse developing just to the south of Nepal. And the connection with Mount Everest, the acknowledgement of my father, Ed Hillary, and Tenzing Norgay is huge there. And I think we need to continue to develop this relationship within India. We have great relations with the New Zealand High Commission in Delhi, and that's where one of the events was held when we were in Delhi. So that New Zealand connection is a pretty powerful one. We've all heard about the Tami Gloff disaster, and I'm sure you've seen the various videos that have gone around, and they're pretty terrifying from people who were actually there at the time. This great deluge, high energy water with huge boulders, just unstoppable, and the devastation it has caused to Tami village. But you know, I was talking to Mike Gill sometime after it, and he was talking about the resilience of the local Tami people, and I guess to that end, we are really heartened by what Kami Temba and Dodoma have achieved with their ruined lodge. They've basically renovated it. They've cleared out the liquefaction gravels that were inside, pushed back in the window frames that were burst out, and they're ready to operate the lodge for the coming trekking season. Who would have thought? But I think it's a real testament to the strength of the people who live up in these mountains. It's not easy living in a small village, 3,900 meters at the base of the world's highest mountains. So we have jumped in there, and we have dedicated $50,000 towards this. I'm absolutely thrilled at how quickly this has all moved, and it's been under the leadership of Himalayan Trust Nepal and Mingma Norbu and their board. But they have, sorry?
The $50,000 was an initial immediate relief commitment that we made in the days after the flood. So we'll be making obviously much further commitments after that. So that was just our initial immediate commitment.
Oh yes, we're going to put a lot more into that. But it was really heartwarming that we were able to move all of the students. Obviously they got out. No one was killed. No one was hurt. The 50 students were moved along with the teachers from Tami School down to Kunjum School. A building that was there has been repurposed as a hostel, and those kids and the teachers have been integrated into the Kunjum educational situation. So that's been a really wonderful development. We've just had, as you know, an election. Alexander went over that. We have 2 new board members, Miranda Khan and Georgia Servin, and we're delighted to have you on board. Mike and I also had to stand for election, Mike Gill that is, and I, and I'm pleased to say we seem to make the grade. We're back in too, so back onto the board. And we have Claire Newman has decided to not stand for re-election after 9 years, and I've got to say, Claire, we really value your input over this time. You've always been prepared to, whether it's me or with Alexander, be on the other end of the phone to discuss various issues, particularly around sort of governance and our responsibilities, and we really appreciate that. Alexander and I were talking a lot about, I think one of my father's greatest virtues was when he made a commitment, he stayed with it. And I think when I get asked what is the best thing the Himalayan Trust has done up in the Solo Khumbu, and I think it's continuity of delivery. So it's not a hospital or a school, it's that you are there, and you are there year after year, decade after decade. That is the most important thing. And so to receive that sort of support from people like you, Claire, over a long time has great value, and it has great consistency with, I guess, what my father felt was so important. So please stay in touch. Keep showing up at the events. We want to see you there. I also want to acknowledge Lindsay Strang and Alex Whitten-Hanna for their continued help to the Himalayan Trust. Obviously, where's Lindsay gone? Oh, right. Particularly on the medical side, but, all the events down in the South Island, particularly in Christchurch. And Alex, who also continues to provide legal advice. He helped with the redrafting of the Constitution and so on. So we really value the input from the people of the Himalayan Trust, and I hope all of you can sort of make contributions when you think you're able to do that. Look, lastly, I really just wanted to touch on our vision for the next 5 years and beyond, and really it's to consolidate and extend our educational programs. What could be more important? As I often say when I'm talking to schools up in the Solo Khumbu, I quote actually Mingma, who was the senior doctor down at Pasang Hospital, and I was visiting there years ago, and he stood up in front of these students and said, what are the 3 most important things for the kids of Solo Khumbu? And of course the kids are all thinking, whoop, how do I turn this off? Sorry about that. It's just that high-powered technology getting and I think the kids are expecting that Mingma, he's the doctor and the medical director of the area, is going to say wash your hands and brush your teeth and all those sorts of things. Health related, he said the 3 things most important for Solo Khumbu: education, education, education. And I think it's a very strong message. There's a lot of things that are changing up in Solo Khumbu, and so we, along with our Himalayan Trust Nepal partners, need to be prepared to change with it. With the little roads that are going in, we're going to find that a lot of the smaller schools will cease operating. Already many of them have very few students. There will be a consolidation, but there is an opportunity in that. If there are school buses, we can invest more into fewer schools and maybe make a better job of their infrastructure and the educations they deliver. But this is very much a situation that is changing quite rapidly at the moment as the road moves up. As many of you will be aware, the road has reached Karikola, down the Dudkosi River. It's moved over Poyana, huge rocky buttresses, and it is moving down to Sirki and Chandrakaka, so large villages just at the base of Lukla. So really moving into the heart of Khumbu, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year there might even be a road, certainly to Chandrakaka and possibly even up to Lukla. That's happening very, very rapidly. So a lot of changes up there. My vision for the Himalayan Trust is that we can deliver support and expertise in all the areas that we work and maintain our strong connections with the communities we serve. The important thing is to be adaptable and to provide services that the people want as things change. Finally, I want to say a special thanks to our Himalayan Trust partners in Nepal. The leadership of Chairman Pasang and Mingma Norbu, who is with us here, we are incredibly fortunate to have such dedicated and experienced partners. So a big hand to Mingma and Pasang who've been also to our EduTech partners, Mike and Cheryl Chisholm. It's, many thanks. It's an amazing time for us to come together. The fact that it's two New Zealand organisations working for the same ends, that really is a perfect arrangement, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to a long, term vision together to make a difference in education and technology up there in the Solar Kumbu. I also want to acknowledge MFAT in Wellington. They certainly keep us on our toes, but you're a vital part and great partner to the Himalayan Trust, and you make a great difference in the high hills of the Himalayas on behalf of all New Zealanders. So we hugely appreciate the collaboration with MFAT. So thank you for your trust and support. I look forward to another year of transformative change with our partners up there in the Himalayas, and I hope that as many of you as possible can join us up there from time to time. I was just talking to Paul, he's heading up there shortly, and so the more of you who can come with us on treks or accompanying some of our visits, the better. That's the way to stay current with the work that's been done up there. Thank you.
New Zealand used to operate in Nepal as an INGO with a Sherpa advisory committee. But Ed in the early 2000s instructed the Sherpa advisory committee to establish an individual organisation that operated separately, with its own board, etc. And that's been very important, as has been talked about. So we have a sort of a sponsorship and partnership agreement with Himalayan Trust Nepal, and contribute some substantial funds to the operation of that organisation. So I'd like to welcome Pasang just to say a few words on behalf of the board.
Namaste and kia ora, Honourable Chairman, Vice Chairman, and respected board members of the Himalayan Trust, and Mike Chisholm of EduTech Nepal, and all distinguished friends. Once again, my namaste and kia ora. It is a privilege for me once again to attend this AGM of the Himalayan Trust and to get an opportunity to meet many friends in this area. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the chairman of the Himalayan Trust and the general manager, Alexander Hillary, for having me here along with my CEO, Dr. Mingma Sherpa of the Himalayan Trust. I have long been associated with the Himalayan Trust, and actually I have enjoyed very much working with the Himalayan Trust, under the Himalayan Trust, for many years, and at the moment, as one of the board members of the Himalayan Trust Nepal. I have seen many changes, both in Himalayan Trust New Zealand and Himalayan Trust Nepal. The Himalayan Trust is moving forward with the mission and vision envisaged by Sir Edmund Hillary and Sherpa friends. I would like to thank Dr. Mike Gill. I have received so much support and guidance during my tenure, and I would also like to thank Lindsay Strang, Hilary Carler, Sarah Hillary, Peter Hillary, from everybody. I got so much positive suggestions and good guidance. And with the passage of time, we have been able to induct very well-educated, qualified, and experienced new members into the Himalayan Trust, Nepal. If Saret were alive till date, I think he would have been very happy with the new leadership and changes gone both at Himalayan Trust New Zealand and Himalayan Trust Nepal. In fact, Himalayan Trust Nepal and the people of Solukhumbu are very lucky to have continued support from Himalayan Trust and from many supporters. In the past years, Himalayan Trust Nepal faced difficult times, hard times, especially during the earthquake of 2015 and COVID-19. However, with strong support from New Zealand, we have been able to overcome all those challenges and hardship. The earthquake damaged hospitals were rebuilt. All the physical structures of these schools are much better than before. However, with global warming, recently caused glacier outlet, glacier lake outburst, turning into flood accompanied by mudslide and debris that swept away Thami village, including Thami school and health clinic, displacing half of this many people and damaging half of the settlement of the Thami people. I, on behalf of the Himalayan Trust Nepal, would like to thank Himalayan Trust New Zealand for showing good response and concern and making an appeal, making an appeal to the people of New Zealand for raising funds to support the Thami flood victims. And the Himalayan Trust Nepal has been cooperating, closely working with the Himalayan Trust New Zealand for helping the people of Thami, and we have been able to support the basic need of Thami people and made provision for Thami school children to go to Kumpung school with all the financial support to each and every student of Thami school. Our chairman, Mr. Pasang Sherpa, is a sort of semi-retired and a respected person in Sherpa community and in Solukhumbu as a whole. He gives a good deal of time to visiting and monitoring the project areas in Nepal, in Solukhumbu areas, and has good contact with the local community. And he has recently visited Thami to hand over funds, relief funds to the Thami victims, and also to discuss with Thami flood victims and local government stakeholders with regards to future settlement planning. The Himalayan Trust Nepal is in good hand under Dr. Mingma, Lama, and Chairman Pasang Sherpa, and under our new young board members. And I am happy to be a part of them. Last but not least, I, on behalf of the board of Himalayan Trust Nepal, would like to thank Himalayan Trust New Zealand, the government of New Zealand, for giving continued support to the school children of Solukhumbu and to the people of Solukhumbu for uplifting and betterment of their hard lives in the mountain region of Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pasang. Really appreciate it. I think it's a bit of an understatement to say that Pasang Dawa and Pasang Lama are respected members of the community. They're incredibly respected within the Sherpa community. They hold a lot of mana, as we say in New Zealand, and it means that we're able to have a huge impact. But I'll hand over to Mingma now for his progress report on the work of the Himalayan Trust.
Namaste.
Kia ora. So, thank you, Alex, and all the board members. Chairman Peter Hillary, Vice Chair, former immediate past chair Dr. Michael, members of the Hillary family, General Manager Alexander, Casey, Fundraising Manager, all the members, board members, general members of the Himalayan Trust, New Zealand. We have the Honorary Consul, Mr. Dinesh Karke here, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here and to present the annual progress report of the Himalayan Trust here in the this auspicious occasion of the Himalayan Trust New Zealand's annual general meeting. So I'm basically presenting two different topics here. One is the first presentation will be about the progress of the Himalayan Trust, that we have undertaken or implemented various projects, health, education, and livelihood projects over the last fiscal year. And Nepalese fiscal year ends in starts from July 2015 to July 2023 to 2024. So that's our fiscal year. So whatever activities we have implemented last year, I'm going to present that. That's the first part. And second, I'm going to present you some information or updates about the Hemingway Glacier Lake outburst flood and disaster. So, so here's the presentation outline. Education program, health program, Hemingway Glacier Lake outburst flood response, and prior projects and programs for the future, for the next year. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with Solukhumbu, and if you are not, then here's the project map, and we work throughout the district. We have this gray part. This is the Soludukunda municipality, and the rest of the Khumbu Pasang rural municipalities here, and the Makurung is here, Sotan is here, likewise PK, the Goli side is here, and so our project activities are spread all over Solukhumbu, and that means we are inclusively working throughout the whole geographical region of Solukhumbu. And apart from that, we are also working in Galatha and also Patang and Okadunga. So,
can you point out Mount Everest?
Mount Everest is somewhere here. Yeah. So, so here are the regions of the project. I'm not sure if you can read from there, and I can hardly read myself. So anyway, this is the just a concept. And if you would like to have the copy of the PowerPoint, please contact Casey or Alexander. And here is the whatever activities we have implemented last year. Here are the data or the information that tells you how many people were benefited, and this is the indicator, the beneficiary indicators here. And I'm sure it is very difficult to read from there. For example, in the scholarship programs, we have supported 305 students over the last fiscal year, and among them the Himalayan Trust New Zealand and Ministry of Foreign Affairs supported scholarships is the major ones. And likewise, the number of patient data, for example, Kunde Hospital provided healthcare service for 4,692 people. It's here, so I'm sure you can't read from there. So, and all these informations are included in our annual progress report, which Alex has the copies of the report, and also you can download, read from the Himalayan Trust Nepal's webpage. And here under the education is the major programs of the Himalayan Trust Nepal and the Himalayan Trust New Zealand. And in general, we just call Himalayan Trust because we are just one organization, and because of the country's rules and regulations, we have to differentiate it. But in terms of the understanding, people's understanding from the grassroots level to the central level, we just say Himalayan Trust, and that's how we introduce and tell people about this organization. And the quality education program in Solukhumbu is one of the major programs that is supported by Himalayan Trust New Zealand and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of New Zealand. And under that, we have different outputs, and LIL stands for Literacy Through Integrated Learning. This program has been introduced in 43 schools, small ones and big ones. So, and under the LIL, we have various teachers training program, and teachers training is one of the major components or major activities of the education program. So several training packages were developed, and 3 days training for grades 1 to 3 teachers, and 52 teachers were trained over the last fiscal year. And this training includes various teaching skills and delivery of the lessons, and how to be child-friendly teaching practices be applied by the teachers in the classroom environment. So create a better learning environment in the classroom. So these are the contents of the teachers training. And likewise, 10 days teachers training program was provided in Sotang rural municipality, which is the southern part of the Solokam district. And Sotang has the mixed community of Rai, Kshetri, and Brahmin and people. And the local government, they wanted Himalayan Trust to deliver a 10 days teachers training through the means of teaching through English medium. So that was the demand of the local government. So they paid half of the cost, and Himalayan Trust provided the technicals and administration support. So the 127 teachers were trained, and right after the training, they introduced English medium in their throughout the rural municipality governance system, education governance system. So they are doing pretty well, and the local leaders, chairmen and vice chairs, and all the leaders are very proud, and because English has a high demand for job and employment in the future. So school management and leadership training is another important component of this education program. 159 head teachers, school management committee, parents and teachers association members were trained because the parents need to know how the teaching system works in the school, because it is a very dynamic field that the government keeps changing policies and practices, and then it has to be communicated, trained to the teachers, and the teachers have to train the students, and the students' parents should know how the school system works in the current situation. So it is a very dynamic field, and so we provided that kind of training to the parents, teachers, and their stakeholders. And so, and likewise, classroom support activities for the kids is another important component. And the child-friendly furniture distribution is another. Our program is not only based on the software, but also hardware support is also implemented parallelly. So it is important to have a better learning environment in the classroom. So for which we provided furniture support and teaching material support, etc. And these are you can see these are for the early grade level and grade 1. These are the settings that we have supported. Provided the teaching materials, and monitoring and just delivering training is not enough. We also need to do regular follow-up and constant follow-up, and otherwise the teachers, they just forget it after a while, and then they don't follow. And after all, they are government teachers, and many of the teachers are employed from the on contract basis by the local government as well as non-profit organizations, and they need a regular follow-up and training. So the turnover of the teachers is also very high in the rural areas. So Himalayan Trust, our teachers trainers keep visiting the schools and follow whatever was delivered in the previous training, whether that has been followed or not. And the school-based teachers training program, like the LIL, the school-based teachers training program is another important programs of this 5 years quality education program in Solokam. And 33 schools had received this program support and furniture support to schools. For example, you have seen these are the furniture that we built and transport to Solokam and install in the schools and make it the learning environment more practical and comfortable. And school monitoring visit by, we also coordinate with the central government Department of Education to do the field visits and monitoring visits and follow-up of the program activities, because we also have agreement with the Department of Education, and all the trainings are delivered. Our trainers receive training from the Department of Education, and then our trainers will deliver in the field. And after our trainers have delivered the training in the field, then the central government's, the Department of Education experts will also make monitoring visits and check whether the trainings are in line with the government policy and programs and modern education and policy and practices. And 5 days capacity building training. So 95 teachers of 5 subjects: science, math, English, Nepali, and social study. Teachers were trained in how to deliver their lessons effectively and according to the changed context. And school improvement plan orientation in Chaudiherka. So 29 head teachers and assistant head teachers of the Pasang rural municipality were trained in delivering preparing the school improvement plan. School improvement plan is the government regulation that each and every school has to prepare annual school improvement plan and implement and work according to the plan. But this never happens in the public schools because the teachers lack the training and the skills and expertise to prepare. So our trainers have provided training to teachers to deliver, to prepare the plans and implement. And our trainers will do the regular follow-ups of the plan. Like here is another school. Here are our teachers trainers following with the schools and students about their learning activities. So notable achievement, we have some remarkable achievement this year. I think you read all the progress about there's an article by Lisa Chogil on the Nepali Times that Kumjung School became the first in the eastern region among 14 districts of Nepal in the Koshi province. Himalayan Trust, the Solukhumbu became the first most graduating or successful school, in terms of the education board. The Solukhumbu high school graduate rate was 87%, but and among them, Kumjung, the Hillary school stood the first. So the Kamso Ungu secured 3.9 GPA and became the first in Solukhumbu. And likewise, in the grade 12, and Sabin Kotwal, he's from Zunbeshi, and he is one of the college topper of the grade 12. So he will get a scholarship for medical field or engineering field. I think he's decided to go to engineering field, and he's getting a scholarship, 100% scholarship from the government, from the engineering campus at Pulchok. So these are the students that who came from Solukhumbu district and had a support of Himalayan Trust. Teacher salary support is another important activities of the 5-year program, and we have been supporting. This was the scholarship. Scholarship is another important field activities that Himalayan Trust has supported, and I got a mix up here. So the teacher salary support is one of the major important support, and 19 teachers were supported under the financial support of Himalayan Trust, New Zealand, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the role of teacher support definitely contributed for obtaining these good results from Solukhumbu. And scholarship is another very important component of the Himalayan Trust projects. And altogether, 305 scholarships were delivered and administered over the last fiscal year. And among them, over 77 are from Himalayan Trust New Zealand and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of New Zealand. And So whenever we provide new scholarship for the high school graduates from Solukhumbu, we organize orientation program and tell the students about how our donors raise fund in the overseas and how much challenge they face, and how the fund is collected, and to what extent they have to be serious, and we tell them, and we inform them the legacy of Third Aid and how the Himalayan Trust organization itself is set up by Third Aid and etc. So that the younger generation will know about the trust and the legacy of Third Aid. So school infrastructure improvement is another important component. Here, teaching material support to 108 schools is another important activities. Under this, we provide different teaching materials and stationaries and sports materials, musical instruments, etc. And because the public schools lack resources to have these basic teaching materials, and so our support reached over 108 schools. And last year we were lucky to have Peter and Alexander together with us, and at one of the remote part of Solukhumbu, Goli and Bakangche, we distributed the stationery jointly. So the picture tells that story.
May.
Yeah?
It's May.
May. April, May. Yeah, April, May. So computer lab is another very important component of our education program, and we are very incredibly thankful to Mike and Chisholm and EduTech Nepal. So they have partnered with Himalayan Trust, and they are providing the 50% of the cost of the computer lab establishment, and Himalayan Trust is providing the remaining 50%, covering the remaining 50%. And we partner with the local government and school management committee, and so it's a joint effort. And so far we have set up 43 computer labs, but one of the labs was in the Thami school, and which was damaged by the flood, and so now we have only 42 labs, and Mike and we are going to set up again. Yeah. And so there was a big celebration of the EduTech Nepal's computer lab last April. So how many computer labs do you have established, Mike? 250 plus computer labs throughout Nepal, right? 276 labs in Nepal, and his target is 1,000 computer labs in Nepal. Thank you. Phone from Nepal. So this another small grant support. This is a small grant support for various schools, and altogether we support 7 schools with the musical instrument and school classroom improvements and the classroom furniture. Here the names of the schools are labeled here, and some of the schools also received the smart board. And Thami Hostel was another important project that was built in 2020, and it was the roof was blown away by strong windstorm in 2022, and then it was fixed with the support of the American Himalayan Foundation, but unfortunately everything is washed out by the flood. Now I'm talking about the health project. Kundya Hospital is one of the major hospital that Himalayan Trust has been supporting, and indeed it is only the hospital that we directly support and cover all the costs from the Himalayan Trust. And 2 out these clinics at Porche and Thami are under the management of Kundya Hospital. And over the last fiscal year, Kundya Hospital treated 5,857 patients, and the clinics itself treated 1,165 in 2 outreach clinics, and the staffs need capacity building trainings, and so we had provided trainings to primary eye care training for Porche and Kundya staff, and mountain medicine course for Dr. Mingma, and endoscopy training for Dr. Mingma and nurse Puradoma. So these are the trainings that we have provided to enhance the capacity of the medical staff. And dental camps organized in various villages and schools in order to generate dental hygiene awareness and primary care of the dental treatment. By the Kunde Hospital, we have a dental unit in Kunde Hospital and eye unit in Kunde Hospital now. So the last year was one of the great years, and we were able to set up an eye clinic in addition to the dental clinic in Kunde Hospital, and so we could partner with Eyes for Everest from Australia, and so the clinic is managed by Kunde Hospital. So eye camps organized throughout the Khumbu Pasang Lama rural municipality over the last fiscal year, and school kids and children, community members, monks, everybody got the primary eye checkup. And now, yesterday and today, there's a cataract surgery camp going on in the Kunde Hospital, yesterday and today, and about 25 people got a cataract surgery operated yesterday and today at Kunde Hospital, and many more got special checkup by the ophthalmologist from Tilganga Institute of Ophthalmology, which is one of the best eye hospitals in the South Asia, I think. And medical equipment supported to Kunde Hospital, and it is very fortunate that we received $100,000 US of grant from the David Sokol Foundation, who happened to be connection from the Peter and Norbu, AHF and Himalayan Trust New Zealand support. So the David Sokol Foundation provided the grant, and we upgraded the hospital equipments, and now the Kunde Hospital really looks like a real hospital. It has many improvements. These are the computer labs and some of the flooring and the coloring, furnishing, and everything. The internal refurbishment were done by the Himalayan Trust Nepal's from the Himalayan Trust Nepal's budget, and only the medical equipments were provided by the Sokol Foundation through AHF and Himalayan Trust New Zealand. And Pablo Hospital, likewise. So Pablo Hospital is another hospital that we have been supporting, and Pablo Hospital treated 11,825 patients over the last fiscal year, and the support for the Pablo Hospital is now limited, supporting the salary of this MDGP doctor, who is a senior medical doctor. And the fund comes from the Germany, Sir Edmund Hillary Foundation, Germany, and coordinated by Himalayan Trust. And likewise, Germany supports the Sotang Hospital and the Boom Clinic and Solen clinics, and equipments and medical supplies were distributed to the respective clinics. And through the Forgotten Shepherds of Nepal Trust is a Geraldine based another partner. They support the Patley and Golden Clinic operation. So they provided the medicines and equipments and the salary of 4 staffs, and Himalayan Trust is managing the clinics. And program monitoring visit. So this is the April-May program monitoring visit by Himalayan Trust New Zealand and Nepal. So we had Peter, Alexander, and Chairman Patandar, myself, Papatenji, and Mahindra Patet. We had a joint program monitoring visit from Solu to Khumbu. So it was very useful in order to understand the local context and the changes and plan for the future. And this year we were very sad that Lady June passed away, and we had a big memorial service at different monasteries from Solu to Kathmandu. So we paid our homage to Lady June and for her contribution to the trust. Okay, that's the progress of the Himalayan Trust over the last fiscal year. I have cut down many slides to make it shorter, but I'm sorry, it's still long. And now I want to update you a little bit about the timing clock. So the 16th of August, around 1:30, one of the lakes near the Tasilas, the pass broke down, and then the beautiful Tami Sherpa village was flooded, and so this is the Tami Valley, I think, Tami village, and most of you know that it is a very beautiful village located at 3,800 meters, and there's a primary school, health post, forest nursery, and the hydropower station, and most of the famous Everest summiters are from Tami village. And here, the massive flood. I'm sure you have seen this from the social media and various sources. So this is during the flood, and so here so this is Tasilas Pass, and here are 5 different lakes, and so you see that I don't think after the flood nobody has been to the lake and monitor exactly, but the local government and the people and the Central Disaster DRR, Disaster Risk Reduction Office expert went to the site by helicopter, and their assumption is maybe a piece of big rock or ice might have fallen down to the lake, and that broke, and so this portion was flooded down. So that's how the flood was caused. And the 1984 flood came from here. This is Dikcho. The 1984 flood came from here, and this is after the Dikcho. This is the second biggest flood. So here again, just trying to say the similar thing. So altogether, 38 houses. At the beginning, the number of damaged houses were very little, but after a week after the flood, the damages gradually occurred. And some of the lodges they were intact during the flood, but after a week, the land subsided and the crack and then flooded. So the number of destroyed houses are 38, and Tami Basic School and hostel was destroyed, clinic totally gone, and forest nursery totally gone, and the 930 kilowatts hydropower station also damaged, and we didn't have electric supply for 2 weeks in the region, and the Kunde Hospital and Nancy Dental Clinic, for example, could not operate during no power supply there. So 135 people, including children living in the hostel, were displaced. The children of Tami School were immediately, according to the local government's decision and the school management commission, they were transferred to Kumjung School, and we were asked to support, and so we did the appeal and sent appeal to you and other partners, and we were able to provide the immediate relief support, and so all the children, 50 plus children and 10 teachers were sent to Kumjung, and they are doing very good, and they are enjoying the life in Kumjung, and so they are happy. So again, more pictures before and after. This is before and after the flood. So after the flood, the disaster, and here, this is the Tami Hostel, and that is totally gone. And this is the school that the Himalayan Trust New Zealand and UK supported to build the Tami 6 classroom building in Tami school. It is a basic or primary school, and the walls were so strong that even the borders and water could not break it. So, but the water and the mud and the debris entered through the roof. The roof was broken, and so everything went from the roof, but the walls remain intact. And so, if we are to build the school in the future, we will adopt the similar same design. So here are the damages, more pictures of the damaged schools and the villages. And this is Dr. Tami's kitchen. The dining is there. So the dining and the kitchen windows were thrown out like that. and a couple of rooms on the other side was washed away. Pasha's house. He lives in Trails and Don, and so the power, the Khumbu, this 930 kilowatts power supply, and the water line goes from here. Tin stock pipe. The tin stock pipe goes from here, and here's the water course, and then the landslides are happening here. So it is quite vulnerable. The power supply in the future is not stable and is very vulnerable. And
The powers for the broader community, the Kundi, the Kumjum, the Namche.
Namche, Thame, the entire Khumbu region. And at the moment, after 3 weeks after the flood, the KBC managed to get the new pipes, and they collected small streams waters, and they produced the first phase of the energy, and that is enough for lights and operating the hospital equipments like Kundi Hospital and Namche Dental Clinic. They can operate the machines, and it's not good for cooking, refrigerator, television, but just for enough for lighting. So this is Dr. Kani's dining is there. You can see the sand inside. Okay, so after that, what we did, we could send the medicines and the medical team to Thame with all the necessary medicines and supplies, because everything was washed away. Even this guy, Milan, he's our health worker and paramedics, and he lost his official documents and certificates, and all his blankets and clothes all washed away. So he came to Kunde to collect the monthly medicines and clear the monthly accounts. So that's how he was away. So he couldn't get his materials back. So now on his way back from Kunde next day, he went with other 4 members of the hospital team, and they set up the temporary clinic in the tent and provided immediate supplies and medical treatments, services. And people were very traumatized, and they had headaches and vomiting, and some said they couldn't sleep, we needed sleeping tablets, and so it's a very terrible situation. So he dealt very well, and later we sent, after this tent is set out and the clinics are set up, and we got a better room, and we sent solar power from Kathmandu, because everything was dark, no light and no torch light. So we sent the solar 4 sets of solar system, 3 for the Thame kids studying in Kumjung school, and 1 set for the clinic. So after that, all the 48 students from Thame were relocated to Kumjung school, and these are the kids' room and bedrooms and dining rooms here. And we also managed to donate 3.5 million rupees to Khumbu Pasang rural municipality, because the local government is saying that we should, they are administrating the funding and donation for the Thame people. So they appeal each and every individual not to work directly, so there can be overlaps and there can be mismanagement of the funds. So they appeal to coordinate with the local government. So we coordinated with the local government and handed over the fund to the local government's account. And the transportation of the supplies to Khumbu is not easy, and the weather condition is end of the monsoon, and so it wasn't easy. So we had 700 kilograms of these supplies for the Thame school kids studying in Kumjung. So we were lucky to get the Mi-17 Russian helicopters, which carried 3,500 kilograms for 1 flight. So we were lucky to get the flights on time and deliver all the supplies on time. And here, the supply materials contain the clothing, toothbrush, toothpaste, and all the personal belongings like towels and t-shirts, warm jackets, and blankets and mattress, etc. So all, and the kit bags to pack all their belongings. So teachers and the students got this support. And the solar energy, the hospital was out of energy for almost 3 weeks, and all the lab equipments were not operating, and we thought it's not going to, we need the power this time, and there may be more emergency cases during this kind of disaster. And if there's no energy in the hospital, then the hospital is not a hospital. So we immediately thought, and we were lucky to get funding from the Himalayan Trust and Australian Himalayan, the American Himalayan Foundation. So we replaced the, we were lucky to set up 12 kilowatts of solar power in the Kunde hospital. And what needs to be done now, local government is coordinating with federal government agencies in order to assess the further risks and whether Thami village is suitable for future settlement or not. The local government is coordinating with the central government and the communities and continue support students to retain, and food, accommodation plus supports are required, and rebuilding of school building, hostel and community clinics is our future priority. So we extend our deepest gratitude to the Himalayan Trust, New Zealand, the American Himalayan Foundation, and all other donors and partners who made a very important support during this kind of difficult time, as always, during the earthquake or during the COVID or during the disaster like the Thami block. And upcoming priority projects, I have a list of projects here. The quality education program in Solokhumbu, phase 3 is another important project that we are working with Alex and team. And Thami school building project is another important project, and the estimation and survey is not done yet because we're also waiting for the local government and the community decisions to make. And Thami school, the clinic and likewise there are a couple of projects which are very important to implement in the future. And among them, I'm not going to read all, but Kunjung School Multipurpose Hall, which was damaged by the snowstorm in 2020, hasn't been built yet, and we need more support to build the community, the Kunjung School Multipurpose Halls, which is good for students' activities and community activities. And all these important projects could not have been happened without the support of Himalayan Trust, New Zealand government, American Himalayan Foundation, and the local government and other partners. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very sorry it has been very long, and for rest of the discussions, I can interact you this evening or later. Yeah, thank you, and maybe how you would like to, some questions.
Excuse me, everyone. Excuse me, sorry. I'm going to get the show on the road. There we go. So I've got a very silly photo for my cover slide, which was this. We had this amazing monitoring visit, and it's such an amazing experience for us to go on these visits and engage with the community and actually just hear personally the feedback, the requests, what the schools are struggling with. But I'm really keen to talk to you just a bit about sort of our strategic project direction and a bit of a sort of a broader look on the things that Mingma was talking about. We're well into sort of our first year of our 2024 to 2029 strategic plan. And there's been quite a lot of progress in the past year alone that's happened. But I thought I'd just talk about some of the project areas that we work with. So these align with our first 3 goals of our plan are related to our program, and they're healthy lives, equitable and quality education, and environmental sustainability and resilience. And you can read sort of the more in-depth goals in our strategic plan, which you can get online. And I thought I'd also mention, just in terms of if you want to access this document or our annual report or Himalayan Trust's annual report, you can get a lot of that stuff on our website if you want to share it with anyone or something like that. But in terms of our strategic plan, these 3 goals, I guess the projects fit into each one of those. And sort of our main project areas that are sort of within those different goals are obviously education being critical and healthcare being our sort of core programs that we're working on. But programs that are either sort of past or future projects that we're working on are in the environmental space, in the water infrastructure space, as Mingma was alluding to. There is a water project that we need to address in Drossel, but there's been water projects in the past that have been very successful. Current immediate project that we're working on, and we're in the development and design phase, is a menstrual health program in partnership with the United Nations Fund for Population. And also livelihood programs has been something that we've done in the past and will be doing again in the future. And so those are, well, Mingma's touched on the GLOF, quite extensively. And I thought I'd just sort of touch on this without going into too much detail, but there are lots of sort of descriptions about what caused this, and it's certainly been something that's rocked the Himalayan Trust community. I was in May there with Mingma, and we opened the new computer lab with EduTech Nepal. It was a small computer lab, but it was honestly absolutely incredible to see these kids. When I opened that door, they rushed in and they all sat at those computers, pulled things up, and the teacher, it was utter mayhem. The teacher was trying to, because the entire school was in there, and it was just amazing to see the enthusiasm. They sat there, like 3 kids at a computer, with the whole school in there, and just the joy at being able to access those learning materials. And the computer labs are incredible for what they can do for these rural schools. So yeah, it was incredibly sad, when that computer lab was essentially destroyed. The building itself is intact, but the computers are gone. And these are actually the students of Tami. This was a photo I took in May. And there's one of our trekkers, and this is one of the important things for us, is taking people to Nepal so that they can experience and interact with the communities. And one of our trekkers started a pen pal program that we've sort of been supporting. I've got a bunch of letters that I'm handing over to Mingma to take home. And there are a number of different groups. There's a Māori group, a Māori school in Wellington, and then also a school in Wheremport that are sending these letters and also pictures to Tame and then back. So the new letters will go to these students in Chisholm. But it's this amazing connection that's really special. But the environment was a big part of what happened in Tami. And as Mingma mentioned, there's sort of 2 theories about what happened. One of the theories from ECMOD was high levels of rainfall, abnormally high levels of rainfall and abnormally high temperatures. But nonetheless, of what actually happened, it is a climate change issue that's occurring, and really these communities are at the forefront of the climate change impact, and it's really important that we do something in terms of resilience for avalanches, landslides and floods, but also in terms of the broader sort of climate change issue. So something we have been looking at before the GLOF happened was doing a reforestation project that sort of looked at a number of different issues. Those were not just reforestation for sort of carbon sequestration, but more broadly for erosion and water health. A big issue for the Himalayas is what's happening to the glaciers and melting and the impact that's having on water quality. So that was another aspect of that project, and then also sort of biodiversity and environmental ecological heritage. So that's a project that we've been developing. We have a donor that's very interested in supporting that. So we currently need to get through the Tami rebuild process, and next year we'll be hopefully starting work on that. But an immediate project that we've been working on is that menstrual health project, and I think they're talking, HTN in particular, talking with teachers and students at the school. Menstrual health is a barrier to education, and there are some, different issues around menstrual health and access to education, such as access to quality menstrual health products, but also education and awareness. So that's something that we're working with the UNFPA on delivering, and we'll hopefully be initiating that in the next quarter, which is very exciting. But really the most important thing for us is QEPS and the education program. And Mingma highlighted what's happened in the past year, and if you want to learn more about what's happened sort of more broadly, you can read our annual report as well. But this is in a very important time because it's the end of our 5-year program. So that ends in April next year. And yeah, it's really important to us that we can continue to have this impact, consolidate the gains that we've made over the past 5 years, and continue to grow. And we've learnt a huge amount over that time as well. It has a big impact for a small program. So Mingma was talking about some numbers earlier, but the Broad program over the course of its life has impacted about 15,000 people. And those are teachers, they're SMCs, which are school management committees, parent-teacher associations, teachers, government officials. So it's a pretty small program, but it actually has a really, really substantial impact in the region. And we're really, really proud of that. There are a number of issues for Nepal. There's been so much progress, and I think for a lot of people, their experience of this region is Khumbu. Fly into Lukla, into the great gateway, that metropolis, and then travel up to Everest Base Camp, staying in fancy lodges and visiting some of the best schools in the entire part of Nepal. But the difference throughout Solo Khumbu is actually quite different. And in Nepal, children are the poorest subgroup, with 1 in 5 of them living in poverty. And it's a big issue that is also sort of reflected in the literacy rates. So Solo Khumbu has a literacy rate of 76.9%, which is actually below, so the broader Solo Khumbu region, but that's below the national average, which is 77%. And then if you actually look at Khumbu, which is supposedly an area of high economic development with the tourist and trekking trade, that's actually lower again at 74.9%. And women in Khumbu, of that district in the top that Mingma had on his map, it's at 66.2%. So there's really still a lot of work to do, and I think something that's been talked about in the past is actually, this data is somewhat difficult to sort of determine the accuracy of it, and the suggestion is that the prevalence of literacy is much lower. So I think that's a really big problem, and it's why this program is so incredibly important, particularly things like the teacher training and the literacy program that Mingma was talking about. Other issues that are sort of faced by Mingma and his team are student retention and inclusion, menstrual health, disabilities, all those sort of things, just retention in terms of economic things. So there's a high dropout rate for students, which is quite a big problem. And then school infrastructure, which is very, very varied. You visit Kumjung School, which is a phenomenal school, and it has the best grades in the region. It's an amazing place to visit, but you don't need to travel far, below Lukla, and the conditions of some of these schools are very concerning. We visited the school in May, in the monsoon. We stood inside this classroom, and the headmaster became very, very worried because I was a lot taller than him, and I put on a bit of weight, and he was worried that I was going to fall through the floor because the whole floor was unstable, and in the monsoon mud would come through the front door, and we had actually provided through the classroom improvement program a whole bunch of new flooring materials to insulate the floor, make it a better place, and they hadn't been used because this mud would just flow in the front door. So there is a big school infrastructure issue throughout the region as well. And then obviously teacher training and retention is another big challenge. So I'd like to just sort of summarise a bit of what the program is for the next phase and what we're hoping to do. So the base parts of it obviously are the teacher training and literacy development is an absolute critical core component that we will be continuing for the next 5 years in our program. The stationery and school support has had a huge impact. It's really important for giving the students the resources that they need. Pens, paper, school books, even musical instruments or things that enrich education and make it really wonderful. So that's really important for our next program and just a real sort of staple of the program. Scholarships are really important. So we've got 77 scholarships. I would really like to see those scholarship numbers increase, but we're having real challenges with inflation and things like that. So these numbers we're having to provide higher value to the scholarships. So that's a big challenge for us in sort of maintaining the number and the reach of those scholarships, but it's something that's important to the next program. And teacher salaries is critical. Some of these schools do not have enough teachers to teach the full curriculum. It's absolutely critical in some cases that the Himalayan Trust supports those teachers and enables these schools to deliver a full healthy curriculum. So that's another important part, and as Mingma said, we've got 19 teachers, and we'll be changing some of that with some new schools in the next 5 years, but it's a really important part. And then working with Mike Chisholm and EduTech Nepal, it's phenomenal to see what these computers can do to rural education. The breadth of learning materials that can be accessed through the different programs is amazing. And we owe so much to EduTech Nepal and Mike for developing a phenomenal package. It's an incredible product, and it's really, really valuable to us because you can visit all sorts of computer labs in Nepal, and the vast majority of them are desolate, they're dysfunctional, they're not working, they're broken down. And what Mike and his team has done, the real skill and value of it, is they've created this excellent, reliable product. It has everything for the curriculum. That will continue to operate, and it's easy to fix. So that's really, really important. But the other really special thing about the computer labs is it means that older students don't need to make a trade-off between being in their community, staying with their family, and being part of a rich culture and a good education, so that they can actually have both, which is pretty special. But there's lots of work, and Mike will talk a bit more about that. The other sort of change that we're making to the program is centres of excellence. The roads were mentioned. There's huge infrastructure changes. Some schools are now connected very closely by road, which was a totally different situation a lot earlier. Some of these schools were hours walk away, and now they're only 20 minutes by car. And while buses are not yet a possibility, there will be changes over the next 5 years. So focusing on a centres of excellence model, really investing in schools for the future, schools that are going to stand the test of time, so we can make true centres of excellence. For instance, Kumjun schools all over Solukhumbu is what sort of we're going for. Schools that are delivering really good educational grades. Another really critical part of the program is the small grants that sort of Mingma was mentioning. There was another power supply issue in Jinbei some time ago. And through the small grants program, we were able to provide solar panels and a huge car battery array to help power that computer lab. And so that's really a really important part, whether it's fixing solar into a school or creating smart boards and all sorts of things. We're creating a lot of sort of specialised grants that we release on an annual basis. And a lot of that is decided by the Himalayan Trust Board and Pasang Lama and his team. Another really important part is that sort of capacity building and the training part that Mingma was talking about. We are wanting to do more there on that program, from helping develop school sort of plans for the future. A lot of the schools don't have plans, and that's a really critical part of this program looking ahead. But yeah, as sort of my father's mentioned, MFAT is really, really important for this program. We have a sort of a funding arrangement with this program where we are providing over 40% of this total program funding, and then MFAT provide the other. And I think something that's interesting to note is we provide a much higher co-investment rate than other organisations that MFAT work with. So we're putting in a lot more money and providing MFAT with actually quite a lot of value. And so in this process that we're in the thick of right now, we're talking with MFAT about the next 5 years. They have just conducted an evaluation, both in Nepal visiting schools, but also talking with us. It's not just about the impact that Mingma and his team are having. It's also about the education and awareness in the New Zealand public, and that's really, really important that New Zealanders, not just our members, are aware and engaged in the work that we're doing. And they're very, very interested to hear and know about that. And that's sort of, I definitely think, MFAT is becoming more interested in hearing about your engagement. So I think that's something that's really important for me asking you today is, you're obviously really engaged and interested. You've come here and sat through this, very long lecture. Helping communicate the work that we're doing to the New Zealand public, to other members, to people that are interested in Nepal, I cannot stress how important that is for us. So please, talk about this partnership. It's really important to us continuing this program. But in terms of, NFAT have shown a lot of enthusiasm for the project. They're really happy with how it's gone. So we're on a really good trajectory to continue that partnership. But we're also trying to create some changes. And we've had, since we started working with NFAT on an annual basis, in 2003, we've had what is it, Jason? I think it's a 76.9% decrease in purchasing power in Nepal. So the cost pressures are huge. So we're really trying to get NFAT to commit to this program and help us expand our impact. That's all from me on that. But I wondered if I could now actually ask Mike Chisholm to come up and present. We're not only, we've been building a lot of computer labs, but Mike's got a lot of ideas and amazing engagements. And
so teaching can just bring it into a classroom. It can bring it into a classroom and turn it on, and without plugging it in, because that's what you need. When you look at the other classrooms, you go, that's what you need for a teacher to be able to do that. What else? Oh, it's low power. Rural Nepal doesn't have high power everywhere. So you're looking for low power. That's what our computer labs are as well. Connectivity, it's got the internet, it's got Wi-Fi, it's got Bluetooth, it's got USB, it's got HDMI. You could run your phone onto that if a teacher had a phone. All teachers have a phone, so they're mobile. They could actually just run it through there if they had something they wanted to show. So actually it's a fantastic device in terms of a piece of hardware. I will then say, just like the computer lab, sometimes I say to people, the computer lab we build is fantastic in terms of hardware. I insist on high quality and we've figured out how to do it really well. But on its own, it's nothing. A computer lab without content is, I just say, it's a car without an engine. It's just completely useless. So we put quite a lot of effort into getting the best content that was available within Nepal. And put it all together on the computer lab. So same with this. This is a great device, but it's not going to do anything unless you've got all the content there, and you've got an incredibly easy way to use it for a teacher actually who doesn't know computers. So how would you do that? So this device then, you'll be able to manage it just with a remote. I'll say to a teacher, have you ever seen a TV? You can just do this, click, click, click. We're going to write software in here, so it'll come up like this for the teacher, and just say, okay, I'm doing class 7, and I'm going to choose this content, or grade 7. I'm going to choose this content. Then you'll go down to the class level, and then we've been designing the software that will take over this machine. That in the end will go down to the lesson. All of that will be absolutely has to mimic the Nepali curriculum. So it goes in there, so everyone can use that, and then attached to that, I'm not a teacher, my wife is actually, so I'm learning stuff about it, but every teacher should have, there must be teachers in this room, every teacher should have a lesson plan. Was it? Were you not doing the lesson plan? No. But every subject should have a lesson plan. And so I sort of look at that, you'll start it up and go there, and the teacher will say, right, there's a 5-minute intro, talk to the class. There's another 3-minute video on this. What does a volcano look like? Well, I'll show you. It's got a video and you can see the real thing. Then another 5 minutes of a discussion or something interactive, then back to another video. I just think it could be built into an absolutely awesome device. This can link to the computer lab, so you can just Wi-Fi it straight off there. Or you can I'll just plug in a 2 terabyte drive, so you've got it all anyway. We'll cover it up so it can't get stolen. The 2 terabyte drive. You've got to work some things out. So that's what's coming up, and we've been having talks. I've been having talks with Alexander here to say, well, how can we use this? I just think, I know there's some problems. There's always problems with technology, and you have to believe that you can overcome them. As there is in business and life, you have to believe that and go down that route. So we will, but I think we could do something incredible with this for the rest of the school and the rest of the students. So I'm excited about that, as you can tell, and we'll keep working on that to bring it to pass. What else will we do?
So Mark, what's the source of it?
Is it one of your creations or?
It's made in China, and I've got a friend, I've done a reasonable amount of business in China and in factories in China and been there, so we're working direct with the factory there, and I've got a guy going there in a couple of weeks' time who's going to sort them out for all the changes we want. So that's how you make it happen. And actually, I got asked, I showed this at the conference in Nepal where we celebrated, and I said, how much? Because someone goes, oh, that's the big question, And so I put up a picture of a goat. It's the price of a goat. So then I'm looking at the school saying, grow 4 goats. And you can have 4 of them. You'll be able to do it. So maybe $300-400 US. For what it is, it's absolutely incredible. So here's an example of how that could be. The teachers come in and just go, well, I'm now going to take you through a video. I know who made this content. It's a company called Deerwalk in Nepal. It's really good content, done really well with really good teachers. So imagine being able to go and say, I'm just going to take you through this and click. If you want to learn something new, even us oldies here, we should always be learning. If you want to learn something new, what's the fastest way to do it? What's it called?
Interactive.
Yeah, how are you going to learn something fast today? You're going to go to what? Well, Google, but then you're going to find your way to YouTube. Because then you can do research on there. So this is just like playing YouTube. It's the video for you to learn fast and quickly. Okay, what's next? I also want to create a scholarship program. That's Lukla. And so Mingma's been helping us with that, and we'll get through that. So next year we're going to do these 6 schools, but I think I heard Mingma saying it might be 8. And I really want to do 8, or at least want to do 7, because that would get us to a magical number of schools with Himalayan Trust of 50. And so I like celebrations, so 50 would be a celebration, wouldn't it? You remember that, Mingma, so you get the cake, Right, and last thing is thank you. That's Lakto at the conference. I really appreciate you guys and really value the relationship, and let's keep going and do it.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate that. We're really excited about the device and using that. I'll quickly hand over now to David Simmons, who's our Deputy Chair, just to quickly talk about some of our sustainability and planning stuff.
Kia ora and namaste. Look, I'm going to be standing as one of the last people between you and a marvellous Nepali meal tonight, so I'll be told to go as quickly as possible. Oh, it's one of these ones, isn't it? So, look, you've seen all this about the strategic goals and the like. Now, in the university, people say that is just repetition. It's not. It's reinforcement. We have to be true to these missions of health, education, environment, and sustainable communities. Of course, we are aligned with the United Nations strategic goals, but behind this, we have a lot of operational goals as well about our long-term ongoing funding for our work in Nepal and what that might mean for membership, the spirit of RCED's legacy, leadership, adventure, philanthropy, and to remain relevant to and engage with New Zealanders. So growing membership is a very key part. And of course, gone are the days when Ed and his brother Rex said, well, let's build a school, and people gave them some money and they probably put it in their post office savings bank. We have all sorts of governance and reporting and transparency requirements on us these days. So, slide number 2, very, very quickly. That's what's in the annual plan. We have got 2 documents, and they're very accessible. The strategic plan and what we do year by year. I'm not going to go through them piece by piece. There are 12 points there. And the one thing I do want to mention, which is completely off script, is that all of this is really put into place by 2 people. So we've got our general manager, Alexander, and our marketing manager, Casey. And we run this enormous platform on the basis of that. And the board members who roll their sleeves up from time to time. And as Peter has said, we all have to paddle the waka on this, and from time to time we do a bit of bailing, but we're going forth on a very targeted mission. So what have I learned? Things I've learned today, Mike. It is people that make things happen. So it's all of us, but I do want to particularly acknowledge these two in particular for the extraordinary work that they do across so many functions, whether it's government relationships, it's memberships, it's events, it's Summit Challenge and the like. And Peter quoted one of his friends saying, "It is education that gives people the key to the door." I suspect Mike was also saying that education on computers gives them the key to the car, if not the Ferrari. So we very much welcome the work that you do. It may have been the garage door for all we know, but this mission is so important. I worked in the tertiary education sector for 42 years. I like the joined up mission here of changing people's lives through education. And that's exactly what we do. Now, Mike, I started my career, I might be a wee bit older, before computers, 3 components of computers: hardware, software, and the other key component which I've struggled with all my life is a thing I call the warmware. So I like the idea of training the teachers and working with them to make sure these things are accessible and current and keep going. So I'm not going to talk about the avalanche of things to do there because we have short presentations on finance, marketing and engagement, membership and fundraising coming up. But behind the scenes, in terms of the governance of the organisation, making sure we fit in with our funders, we are a transparent, efficient, effective organisation. We are constantly looking at improving how we do things. So we have an independent due diligence report from BDO, which has highlighted our strengths as a small charitable trust, but it's also highlighted areas for improvement, such as risk management and partnerships. There are internal things which we have to attend to at the same time. We're talking also about our organisational capacity review. How do we stay fit for purpose? Importantly, when I'm asking people for money, how do we assure them that we are very efficient and effective getting it into the field in Nepal? So that, but do we have the right mix of people? Do we have the right mix of skills? How can we continue to do better? And of course, the other big thing we've been doing, because it is such a massive risk, is the evaluation and rebidding for the funding of support from MFAT. And that's in very safe hands, particularly with Alexander's work on that. That's it, I'm out of here. Next.
Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate it. It's great to have a really active deputy chair and chair. Jason, could I invite you up for the finance report, the most important bit? Okay.
Thank you. If David was worried that I'm downright fearful about standing between you and drink, basically. And by the way, the annual report has all the important stuff at the front, but most of the slides are actually from page 26 as well, around the finances. And I should mention that even though I'm presenting the financial review, obviously rely a lot on the support of the board. Mike Gill should particularly mention, who's a huge help on the investments and operating all the bank accounts. And on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, dealing with Alexander and with Casey is actually a pleasure. So thanks to both of you guys. And I know that you're probably doing far more accounting than you ever envisaged at Census Life, eh? So we'll get to the key numbers shortly, but just setting the scene and a bit of the highlights for the year, to be honest. In my accounting and tax practice, I deal with plenty of for-profit private companies, a lot of subsidiaries of multinationals, etc., but largely sort of small to medium businesses, to be honest, and some not-for-profits as well. And I would certainly say across the board, 9 out of 10 of them, in the last sort of 6 to 9 months has probably been the hardest time for them in business since the GFC. So, you know, for a good decade. So it is really tough out there, and you know that yourselves just listening to the news. that makes fundraising extremely difficult, okay? Because everybody has got a cost of living crisis, as we hear about, paying more on the mortgage, etc. So that's the environment we've been in pretty much for a couple of years. Investment markets post-COVID have been more volatile than ever, to be honest. And you get rid of COVID, but you know, every week there's some new sort of crisis. It's either the Middle East crisis, there's Ukraine, there's a small matter of a US election coming up. There's all sorts of things that the markets react to each and every day. And in the not-for-profit space, the demand from MFAT and funders for, you know, increased accountability and value for money just increases day on day. So, you know, with that background, it's actually really, you know, the board and Alexander Casey and everyone should be really proud that it's been a really strong financial year for the Trust. Fantastic progress against both financial and strategic goals this year. That's on the back, as Alexander and Peter and others have mentioned, of obviously continued MFAT support for 20 odd years now. That grant agreement, the latest grant agreement for 5 years, expires in April 25, but as Alexander's mentioned, you know, ongoing dialogue to extend that. Major donors each and every year is a bit, you know, it's always a bit hit and miss. We've been extremely lucky this year to receive some, you know, very significant donations, and we'll talk a bit about that shortly. And also in July, over a year ago now, but at the beginning of the financial year, we had, of course, those great 70th anniversary events at the Auckland Museum and down in Christchurch. And so that was also key for our fundraising. So let us talk about some of the numbers. These have all been audited. Auditors are certainly just-in-time processing because they signed up yesterday. There you go. So these numbers have all been audited. If you've got any questions, just please do shout out. So revenue for the year was $1.3 million compared to just over $1 million in the prior year. As I say, a big chunk of that, 385 grand, was MFAT, which has been the amount each year for the last 5 years. Donations and bequests, 147 grand. That includes regular giving, includes all the various appeals, etc. Events income, that was pretty much the profit on the 70th anniversary events in Auckland and Christchurch last year. Summer Challenge goes from strength to strength on the back of great social media and community engagement, $105,000. Major donors, so this was the big change from the previous year. Major donors, $455,000. A huge number. Peter mentioned, obviously, Dick and the Estons with about 158,000 New Zealand dollars, which is a huge chunk of that. There was the 4 Sherpas Trust who transferred their trust funds of about 120 grand, I think. And Peter was probably way too modest to mention that himself, and Sarah also made an amazing contribution through the Himalayan Foundation. Investment revenue at the bottom there, $101,000. That is dividends and interest from the investments, basically. So that's where the revenue comes from. That's just a graphical representation of that. Really, the big change is the major donor gifts was 34%. So that was a big increase from previous years. Oops, sorry, wrong way. Looking at the expenditure then and profitability. So total expenses, you can see there was $1.2 million. The vast majority of that at the top $715,000 was on the quality education program. So that is all the great work that we've heard from Dr. Mingma and Alexander, etc. The literacy program, school-based teacher training, teacher salaries and scholarships, infrastructure support, material support, community engagement, etc. That's what sits in that quality education line, the core program. COVID lingered a little bit. Kunde Hospital, $61,000. And then you can see some of the expenses, obviously the volunteer and employee costs there. And at the bottom, the other expenses, and pretty much includes everything, including merchandise, marketing, office expenses, all the, a lot of the donations are all online these days, so there's Stripe and bank fees, etc. Then there's IT and accounting support. So total expenses was $1.16 million, which meant the operating surplus was $154,000, compared to a deficit in the previous year of $316,000. So obviously a significant improvement. And then thankfully the second to last line from the bottom there is the gain in the fair value of investments. So that was $423,000. So that means that the investments went up in value by 423 grand from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which is about a 14% return it was, which is better than you get in the bank at the moment, that's for sure.
Thank you to Mike for doing a lot of that financial management.
So the overall result for the year, net surplus, as I say, being audited, was 577,000 profit, really, which is fantastic. The financial position then, I should just have mentioned actually, so the spend in Nepal on the various programs there, including quality education, Kunde Hospital, is about 67% of the total expenditure, which is up from 62% in the prior year. So a nice trend to see. In terms of financial position, so this is what us accountants call like a balance sheet, i.e. your assets, this is your liabilities, and at the bottom you can see the trust equity. That's basically your net assets. If you stop today, you'd have $4.4 million, okay? Which is obviously really important sustaining the programs going forward. It deals with various cash and receivable assets, etc. But the big one there is investments, the investment portfolio, $4.3 million basically. And you can see the growth there from the prior year. And we'll delve into that slightly on the last slide. Liabilities, well, it's a very lean machine, so there's some minor accounts payable, and then income in advance there on the bottom is basically funding in advance from MFAT. And some of the tricks taking place this year. Last slide. This was just the breakdown of the investment portfolio. So again, Mike and the investment committee involved in the allocation of the investments, but worked with private wealth advisors who've been working with us for good to deal with. It's what they call a moderately conservative portfolio. As you can see, made up of cash and fixed term deposits, shares and equities, and some managed funds. As I say, about a 14% return for the year ended 30 June, and since then, in the what are we now, almost end of September, it's gone up another sort of 100k. So all good signs. That was me, but very happy before Casey comes to ask any questions on the finances, if anyone does have any.
How often do you get such a windfall from private companies that are spending once every 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much, you can't bank on it, that's for sure. And there's a lot of hard work. How long you've been talking to the Dick in the Eastons in Australia, you've been on, friends with him and relationship with him for a long period of time. So it's usually culmination of a long period of investment in the relationship. But yeah, it's hit and miss. Sometimes when there's, disasters and big appeals, it helps them come out of the woodwork a bit more. But yeah, it is really hard work, and you certainly can't rely on it. It's a nice bonus.
And it was the 70th anniversary.
And sometimes profile helps, if anniversaries, functions, etc.
But when you plan ahead, one assumes that you shouldn't recruit.
No, we don't. We pretty much assume a nil for that. Yeah, and that's a nice bonus. Yep.
Just to comment on that, I do think that is they certainly tend to be one-off and relatively rare and hard won. But we're very keen on growing the membership, and like other organisations, growing regular gifting. So if you look at the donations page, and if that becomes the foundation of different people, young families giving regularly, whether they're sponsoring a child, sponsoring a scholarship, sponsoring a classroom, so that income rolls forward, because the cost of engaging someone, I guess, is quite high. So Casey, I think, has done a great job in trying to move more and more people onto a regular giving program. So I think that does help offset the sort of inherent risks, if I'm reading the comments correctly.
I'm going to absolutely fly through this and probably cut about half of my content, so bear with me, and I'll be around at the dinner for any questions you have. In terms of our fundraising pyramid, you could look at it either as a pyramid or as a funnel, but the idea is that down the bottom there, we have a large number of one-off donors, people who might participate in a fundraising campaign or hear about us through the media, something like that. Moving up a level, you've got the regular givers, the members, maybe mid-level donors might give $500 every now and then. And then up the top of the pyramid, you've got those major donors like Dick and Lee Estons, who are kind of the 1 in 1,000. We'd love more of those, but yeah, as Doug just said, it's a very hard one. So we've got this pyramid, and we sort of aim our efforts at these various levels because you need a different strategy for each one. I'm going to talk through a number of different things, and I'm going to just zip through it. So in terms of regular giving, as David just talked about, this is the donation form on our website, which you're probably all familiar with. You'll see it says on the one hand one time, but by default it says monthly. And the donation software we use, let's set these goals up here. Well, $25 a month over a year, you give the gift of school supplies to a student. Over $75 across a year. If you donate for a 2-year period, you've given someone their, year 11 and 12 scholarship. And that's life-changing. So we're working really hard at communicating this and onboarding more regular givers, and we've seen huge success with doing this, and we'll continue to put efforts into this. In terms of the last year, we've picked up, with regular giving, 56 new monthly donors. So it's more than one a week, which is pretty cool. They've all raised collectively $58,000. So that's roughly $1,000 a year per donor, which averages out at, we're pretty happy with that. And that's 210 average monthly donors. Obviously, everyone has a different schedule. Some people are weekly, some people are quarterly, some people are annually. So that's roughly where we're at. So we're striving really hard to grow that number, as David said, because it's the most efficient means for us. But to be honest, this is really, in terms of that pyramid, they're down the bottom, because they're across a lifetime. The average person who is a monthly donor will donate for 24 months, and then they'll drop off because they'll pick a new cause they want to support. So we're working really hard to nurture people who are donating regularly, to engage them. We've got I'll talk about it later, but we've got a newsletter that we send out to our regular givers every 3 months to update them on the impact that they're having. Looking broadly at marketing, which is where I've originally come into this organisation from a background in digital marketing, and I'm learning a whole lot more about how this whole fundraising thing goes. 3 years in and we're still going. Broadly speaking, the journey goes from awareness to consideration to conversion and then eventually retention. So in those different angles, and that's kind of like a funnel. It's like a journey as you move someone deeper into our organisation, more and more embedded. So the awareness might be seeing a post on Instagram or Alex speaking on the news about Tami, or something like that, that first thought of awareness. As you move through, you might click on that and land on our website and go, oh, these guys look pretty interesting. Let me sign up to their newsletter. Then you start getting a few emails from us about our history, you know, the impact we're having today. You might make your first donation, that's step 3. And then at that point you've made a one-off donation, you've entered the bottom of the pyramid. And then it's our job to bring you higher up the pyramid so that you can become one of these people in the room here who really care deeply about this organisation and will stick with us for your life. And that's the retention piece. So the key aspects there are membership, regular giving, and then bringing you on a trek over to Nepal. Now, pretty much all of you, I'd say, have been to Nepal, and you've been changed by being there. It's a remarkable place, not just for its mountains, but for its people and its culture. And this is our journey that we work to bring your everyday New Zealander on. And it is a funnel. You have massive attrition as you go through that. So for every one trek attendee or every one regular giver, we might have, you know, tens of thousands of people have seen us on social media. So we focus our efforts at each of these different stages. In terms of social media, we've got our Facebook and our Instagram, our primary channels. I'm starting to feel too old to use TikTok, although I feel at some point we're going to have to engage with that reluctantly. In the last year, our online following and engagement has grown by something like over 30%, and that's because we have a really concerted strategy to be consistently being out there, putting out high quality and interesting content, not automated stuff that's sort of forgotten about like a lot of charities are doing these days. Well, not charities, but businesses in general. So we're trying to be authentic with it. And I think we've seen a good uptake. In terms of newsletters, so moving to that second step in that donor journey, we've had a 20% growth in sign-ups in the last year. So 7,100 people on our email list reading our newsletter every month and getting our appeals when we do send them out for things like Tami. So we've got a few different formats. The weekly one, which you may all subscribe to, I'm not sure. We're going to show of hands who gets the mail by runner. Oh, good work, guys. Sorry, we've forgotten the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty busy, as you can we drop the ball every now and then. The monthly one we try not to drop. September's hasn't come out yet because we wanted to wait till the AGM was complete so we could send out an AGM recording link to everyone. And then the quarterly newsletters we have are the members newsletter, which you'd all get, as well as the regular givers newsletter, which some of you may get. And then the other sort of thing that we work on in terms of emails is our appeals. And these are, I'd have to say, our most effective form of fundraising. Because with something such as the Kumjung school, where they got those great results, and we sent out an appeal to give all of the teachers and staff a bonus. We raised the goal in 2 days. And that was just phenomenal results for sending one email. And yes, sure, there's a lot of effort that goes into writing that email, but ultimately it's a day or so of Alex and I collaborating on some copywriting and finding the right images and getting the information from Mingma and his team and sending it out there. And it's highly effective. It shows just how engaged our user database is and why we're so pleased to see that database growing by something like 20% a year, which is, as far as marketing numbers goes, you don't see double digits often. So I'm pretty proud of that. Membership, as David talked about, is just a huge aspect of focus for us. That's then stepping to that third step in the journey, it's kind of conversion and then moving on towards retention. So in the last year, we've grown by 67 new members. Now, most of these people are actually new to the organisation. I'm not recognising any of the names. I look through the CRM and there's no history about this person. I'm going, great, that's a new person who cares enough to become a member. However, we only have 154 total. This number, any of you who've been around being members for a long time would know that we've had a much larger membership than that in the past. So,
very high attrition through COVID, which we're hoping to build back after that time.
So, we need your help as our core supporters here in the AGM. Anyone who you know who may have been a member in the past or who hasn't been showing up to these AGMs, give them a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, get your membership going again. It's really easy. It's just, as you'd all know, it's a quick little form. You fill out your email address and that's about it. Then your card gets charged once a year. So we've got a goal, a vision to have hundreds, if not thousands of members, because this is the way that we can get people who can volunteer, who can help put on events, and it amplifies our impact. You know, as a small team, a lean organisation, we do our best with 2 people and a great board of 9 and an incredible team over in Nepal. But our impact as far as fundraising goes in New Zealand, being our primary objective here, members are a really great way that we can amplify that. So please get stuck in with your community, sign up some members. You might need to dream up some kind of incentive scheme or send you a free t-shirt if you sign up 2 friends or something like that. As far as our campaigns go, I'm going to whip through these because you're familiar with all of them. You've received the emails and you probably know everything about it. Summit Challenge this year was our most successful yet. So for the last 2 years, we've run a Trans-Tasman Challenge with the Australian Himalayan Foundation as well as Himalayan Trust New Zealand. Together, we raised 130 grand. Now, as you saw from Jason's slides, 105 of that was us. You don't need to guess about the vertical meters. We won that as well. But it's a pretty, good work. It's a pretty high impact challenge, mainly because not only does it raise funds well, but it actually has a huge awareness component. The advertising for it alone reaches literally millions of eyeballs, and tens of thousands of people will click on our ads and land on the website. So that's filling the top of that funnel, that first stage of the journey. Some key things we achieved and reasons that we attribute the success of this year's challenge in spite of the challenging fundraising environment was, for example, we put some technical development work into improving the leaderboards so that you could see the dollars raised as well as the meters climbed. So we highlighted the model challenger, whereas in the past you'd only be looking at meters or only be looking at dollars. So most people only looked at the meters and they didn't focus on fundraising, which is why they're doing the bloody challenge. So this has made a huge difference. And you can see all of these are 4-digit numbers here. We've got
shout out to Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay, Sue, Peter, Alex. Yeah, and your daughter Diane as well. Some incredible fundraising here. Thank you guys. You are the ones inspiring all of the other people who are raising, instead of raising $20, they're raising $200. So that's huge impact that you're having. We also developed this graph that would highlight what's going on country to country. This is really fun. You can see the Aussies won in the end because what this was actually showing was for everyone who signed up, you set a fundraising goal, and it's a percentage progress towards your goal. So in New Zealand, we did really well. We got a big jump in the middle there. They got a big jump closer to the end, and they just clinched it. We also ran a really successful event over in Wanaka, had about 80 people there, and we climbed Mount Iron, which is a small hill, about a 5k loop. So we had a bunch of families involved, and we climbed 30,000 vertical meters in 24 hours, everyone all collectively. It was a lot of fun. We're going to work on more events for the future. In terms of Everest Day, this for us is really...
This Everest Day. Give a fiber for aid.
And make our clinic better for everyone.
Give fiber for aid.
And support reforestation.
Join us in building a better future. Every donation makes a difference. Give a fiver for aid today.
To cheer.
Thank you. Thank you, Himalayan Trust.
So Alex shot this video midway through his monitoring trip because I sent him a script of the video right before he went on the trip and said, "Can you quickly film this, please?" And he turned it around in about a week while monitoring all the schools. I was amazed. Probably the best little video we've put out to date. However, Everest Day this year, in the grand scheme of things, didn't really sing. You know, $15,000 raised. We've got 14 new monthly donors, which is pretty good. But essentially, we have a vision for Everest Day, and that's to connect with your everyday New Zealander. And that's through this whole Give a Fiver for Ed campaign. And we're just not attaining the reach that we envision this campaign is capable of. And the two major areas we're going to tackle in the coming year is schools and corporates, and that's really where we're going to be able to make a difference here and bump that number from $15,000, which is, last year obviously was the 70th anniversary. It raised a lot more than this. It was an anniversary. The year previous, it's done about double or triple. So we're working really hard at improving that. We recognise there's some gaps in our strategy there. One of the things we tackled also in this was a direct mail campaign. So some of you may have received one of these beautiful hand-drawn cards, which Alex actually took over to Nepal with him, took them out to a few classrooms, and the kids from the schools would do a drawing, and we then sent these out to about 80 people in our database here in New Zealand. Now the campaign is something that we're really proud of. We're really looking forward to doing more direct mail campaigns. You've probably received a Christmas card from us last year. You'll get another one this year, hopefully. And we understand that, especially for me with my background in digital marketing, I'm working really hard to upskill in this area and do more of the traditional stuff because it's personal. And we know that that personal connection goes a long way. So this is what the cards look like. Those are two good examples. I'm going to start flying through because I just looked at my watch and I'm going quite slowly. The Christmas appeal, this is what the cards look like. It raised $18,000 off the back of a few emails and about 500 cards going out. So it's, I think, quite an efficient campaign. Then moving further down that donor journey, the treks are really about creating lifelong supporters. So this guy here is Caleb. He came on the trek last year. He sold his van to come on. Not many people would do that, but we were pretty stoked that he did. These are some photos from the trek that Alex and Peter led last year. And ultimately, as you all know, once you've visited this place, you come back a changed person. And this is really why we're trying to nurture people, particularly, I'm going to skip this video, sorry. Why we're trying to nurture people from all ages and demographics to come over to Nepal. And that's why in a month now, I'll be leading a trip to Papua, going to do a mountain biking expedition. We figured that mountain biking is it's a growing industry over there. Our partner, Arnie Sering, has founded the Papua Mountain Bike Club, which we've funded over the last couple of years. And they built a trail network there, and they believe it's like Whistler, which is for a mountain biker like Mecca. It's the world's best, and they're saying, look, our trails are as good as that. We just need to get the tourists here to understand that. So we're really hoping that we can build a new tourism industry, in addition to the trekking industry that's a staple. So we're really excited to be using treks as a way of not only nurturing our own donors, but also creating some more self-sufficiency and some resilience economically over there. Do you want to join me, Alex?
Yes. Well, I think, just very quickly, the two major flagship things that we're sort of going to be doing next year. The first thing that we're, obviously we're doing Summit Challenge again and all that sort of stuff, but the two unique things are, the first one is we're hoping to do a sort of VR roadshow. And Dad and I have been involved in this VR project for actually like a decade now. And it's an Ascent of Everest VR experience. So something we're sort of working on is bringing that to New Zealand schools. We need to be nurturing our younger demographic. So they're wanting to share this with the world. So they're going to come over here, and we're going to facilitate that interaction with schools across New Zealand in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. So we're in the early stages of sort of planning that itinerary and that program, but really excited to cultivate this story with young people. And then I think the next major thing is our Everest Day campaign for next year, which is a little special. Do you want to talk about how we're doing it differently?
Well, essentially next year is 50 years since Junko Tabai's historic first female ascent of Mount Everest. And obviously, as you've probably gathered, our program over the last number of years has shifted to being more and more gender equitable and inclusive for a number of aspects. So we really want to champion this message of female empowerment. And as two guys standing up here, we really put our hands on our heart and say that. Having just seen my wife give birth, I really give serious respect to all women on the planet. No, there's really a strong campaign behind that, and we're going to gather all of the women involved in the mountaineering community around the world, put together a special feature film, and put on some special events, particularly in Auckland, something similar to the event we had back in
It'll
2023.
be a very short film, not a full-length feature film. So please don't overcommit.
So I'm going to sign up, Alex, for work.
But yeah, so it'll be next year. We'll be celebrating women on Everest. Will be the theme of that. So yeah, we'd really love you all to be involved. We've got some exciting plans. So as members, we hope you'll sort of keep in touch and get involved in that and help out, because we really are excited about it, and it's something different. But I think that's all sort of the major, and that's also sort of in the early half of the year. So March with Summit Challenge and May with Everest Day.
There was a Q&A slide there. Let's just save that for dinner, because we're getting kicked out at 5:30 and it's 5:32. Everest Dine's on Parnell Road. It's a 10-minute drive from here. Feel free to carpool. Everyone's got parking nearby. I don't think we'll run into too much traffic. It's a Saturday, but I think, is anyone not going?
I think, yeah, so
no worries.
You couldn't get us. It was sold out.
Yeah, all sold out. Yeah, we'll need a bigger venue next year.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for your interest, and really looking forward to sharing dinner with you all. So thank you very much.